Hello, family members. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. I have a little bit of a concern I would like to share about a political podcast that I discovered, I believe, over the summer. Mainly, I don't really listen to podcasts. My hearing loss just means audio only format is not for me. But I watch podcasters' YouTube versions of their podcasts fairly often. And I honestly have been very impressed with this podcast and the sort of network around it. If you're not familiar with Pod Save America, it is made up of primarily, I guess, people who were aides to President Obama. And so they have a very interesting take on politics because they're very knowledgeable about politics, were very involved in certain events, but they're not journalists. So they don't have that like journalistic, flavor to them. And so it's interesting that the takes they have, I've often found are different than anything I'll hear on, say, MSNBC or any of the like legacy media. So it's kind of cool to have that resource. That said, and it's not just them. I don't want to make it sound like it's just them. Like literally, I think last night Seth Meyers had a joke about this too. Tim Scott, if you are unaware, is a senator from South Carolina. I don't know that much about his politics. He's a Republican senator from South Carolina, so I think I probably have a pretty decent idea what he's like politically. Enough to know that I'm probably never going to be any sort of supporter of his, right? But and I honestly don't know much about his personal life, but I do know that up until fairly recently, he was very publicly single and had gotten engaged, I think maybe last month or something like that. And there has been a lot of aerophobic jokes about him on Pod Save America, and it really bothers me because we're talking about a podcast that honestly is usually pretty inclusive. They include a lot of queer voices. They talk about queer rights and causes. And yet, they keep treating Tim Scott being single as if it's like a punchline, that's arophobia. That's what that is. That is erasing and devaluing people who, for whatever reason, don't want to have romantic relationships. And like, I have no idea if Tim Scott is aromantic or asexual or anything. I don't know that. But if he were, and he was single all of his life, that wouldn't be a shameful thing, That wouldn't be a funny thing, this awful, awful aerophobic idea that a person is lesser or is kind of a loser if they're not, in a romantic relationship is very disturbing. And I wish they would just stop doing that, like he's a Republican and they're Democrats. I'm sure there's plenty of things they can say about him, probably funny things that are legitimate criticisms of him and his policies. But like, whatever his romantic relationships are like, that doesn't, that's not funny. It's just not. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not, like I said, it's not just them. It's not just them at all. It's the media in general likes to make fun of Tim Scott for this reason. Anyone who's sort of a commentary person, not just straight news, is probably going to make some sort of snarky comment about Tim Scott and his imaginary girlfriend or imaginary fiance or whatever it is that they want to say. And it's just, I feel like I have to call that out, like I've commented on their YouTube videos multiple times, like, please stop with the Arophobia. It's so uncomfortable and it's so unnecessary and it's so exclusionary, it makes me feel devalued. When they talk about Tim Scott like that, it makes me as a person feel devalued. And I don't think that that's their intention at all. I don't know that they even intend to make Tim Scott feel devalued, although, if they did, at least that would be because they have some reason to dislike him. But, this is why making fun of people for things that are, potentially related to their intrinsic qualities. Making fun of somebody for stuttering. Like, whenever people in the media make fun of or criticize Biden for stuttering, like, that's so ableist. Like, why are you doing that? Why is it so acceptable in our society to talk down to people for reasons that are just not punchlines, Like, can we just stop, with the forever alone and all of that stuff? Like, if somebody is unhappy because they're not in a relationship, making fun of them is pretty awful. And if somebody is happy not being in a relationship, making fun of them for that is also pretty awful. So, I mean, like, no matter, where you're, who it is that you're talking to, it's still a low blow. And it's below and beneath the dignity of our society, our whole society. We all are better than this. And it's really frustrating to me when people who I know are intelligent, I know are thoughtful, I know are not, willfully ignorant, keep insisting that something about me is lesser when they use that as a cudgel to cut down somebody who they don't like for political reasons. I just think it's very small. And I think they're better than that. And I think that there are people in the media who I don't think are better than that. I think Seth Meyers should be better than that. I'm probably going to make a comment on his Facebook or on his YouTube video too, because I was just like, really? That was sort of the last straw. I had watched a Pod Save America that did that recently, and it was already on my mind. I'm like, it's not just them. It's in the media in a lot of places. So I want to mention them specifically because I believe that they would do better if they were called out. Because I don't think that they mean to be like this. But they are like this. And if they would just stop, it would be great. So that's all I wanted to say. Anyway, so thank you for going along with me on this journey. I will reward your attention with cat. Hello, baby. You purring. You're such a good girl. She's such a good girl. Oh, gosh. Have a nice day. Love you.